Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hygge With It. Today I wanted to share with you the top 5 books that I read in summer. So let's get into it. I didn't read a ton this summer. I was about to give birth to my daughter. Life was a little bit crazy. So I didn't read a ton, but I read so many great books that coming up with the top 5 was still actually difficult because I read so many fantastic books. So very lucky indeed. First, I would say the most summery book that I think I read all summer was The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. This is my mom's favorite book. She is actually downstairs right now taking care of Nora while I'm filming this, which is so nice of her. So this little book is about a young girl. I think she's in her early teens. She has lost her mom. Her mom died when she was very young, and she's being taken care of by her father, who isn't the nicest person in the world. In South Carolina, 1964. I should have mentioned that. And she has this tie to her mom, obviously, and she wants to know more about her, and so she ends up going to this town called Tiburon in South Carolina, where her mom went to visit, and she's got to get out of town in a hurry because the black woman who basically raised her after her mom died, is in trouble with 3 incredibly racist men in the town that they live in. So they leave and they go and stay with these beekeeping sisters. And I really enjoyed this book. It was kind of spiritual in some ways. There's this tie to the figure of Mary in the Bible. It explores the divine female in Mary, and then also the divine female in ourselves. And I just fell in love with this book. It was really, really good. I think I ended up giving this 5 stars, 4 or 5 stars for sure. It was just so fantastic. Such a good summer read. If you're ever looking for one for this coming summer, put it on your radar for sure. Next is a thriller. There's actually quite a few thrillers. I got like on a thriller kick big time. So this one is The Night Visitor. This, I should actually say, is more of a mystery than anything else. In this book, we follow a woman named Olivia, who is at her book launch party. She's written this biography about a woman, a female doctor, I believe, in the Victorian era. And she is scanning the crowd because she's terrified a woman who helped her a great deal to write this book, named Vivian, is going to show up. And Vivian is a very interesting character. Vivian might be one of my favorite characters of all time because she's so eccentric. She is someone that is not necessarily always likable, and yet you find yourself drawn to her and empathizing with her, or feeling for her at the very least, even though she might not do the most wonderful things in the world. Yeah, I would definitely call this more of a mystery than a thriller, and I expected it to be a thriller when I picked it up. But that said, it did not disappoint. I was turning the pages, and I really wanted to know mostly what happened to Vivian. I didn't really care about Olivia so much, but Vivian, I mean, that is a character that you don't forget. And I will be wondering about her for a good long time, I would say. So if you're in the market for a good mystery, I would so recommend this. It's not really well known. I think I found out about this on the blog A Crime by the Book, and so good. I also picked up The Other Child, also by Lucy Atkins, and that's on my shelves now, and I'm curious about that one. So that's the Night Visitor. Then, oh my goodness, I read Jane Eyre. This is a reread for me. I read this when I was in English Lit, And I didn't feel pulled to this or drawn to this as much when I was younger as I do now. Like now I genuinely adore this book. This is a growing up novel about Jane, who grows up with her cousins and her aunt, all of whom are not very kind to her. She's an orphan and they're taking care of her, and so they feel that they can get away with treating her pretty much like crap. And you follow her from there as a very unhappy child to boarding school, and then eventually she becomes a governess at this grand home. And she meets Mr. Rochester, and there's definitely a connection between the two of them. Now, I didn't always love Mr. Rochester, if I'm being perfectly honest. I really still, the verdict is out for me. But I loved Jane. I loved her so much more than I did when I read this the first time. I just empathized with her, and I just felt like I could understand her a lot more this time. And it's just so wonderful. Such a gothic read. Honestly, much better for fall, I would say, than for summer, but I picked it up in the summer. I listened to this when I was in labor with Nora, when I had the epidural, let's be clear. So it has like a really special spot in my heart now because it's connected with such an important day in my life. So yeah, loved it, Jane Eyre. And then, okay, another thriller that I really enjoyed. It's a retelling, and I've been talking about it like crazy. You guys would not be surprised to see The Turn of the Key on here. This is a retelling of The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. You don't have to have read that to read this, but this is about a woman who works at a daycare. She's not overly happy. I think she lives in London. Well, she definitely lives in England, somewhere in England. I thought it was London, but I could be wrong. She sees this advertisement for a nanny, basically, to go and live in the Scottish Highlands in this big old house. As soon as there's a big house that's isolated, I get excited. I just do. And this house has been kind of refurbished by these two architects. They're a couple. And they've kind of joined the Victorian with very modern taste together. They've made it also a smart home. They're very busy people, so they're in and out of the country a lot. And so she's hired to take care of the children, the 3 girls that they have. They also have a teenage daughter, but she lives away from the home. She like lives at school, basically. She goes to boarding school. And so she goes to go and stay, and at first she's like, this is the best job ever. It's like really well paid. And then things start going wrong at the house, and the smart home is not cooperating with her. It's actually doing the opposite. And she's terrified. And it was truly such a fun, fast-paced read. I read this just at the tail end of summer, right before I had Nora, and oh my gosh, I loved it. Loved it. And then the last one is a book that I read pretty much just after Nora was born, and it's Dear IJAWELE, or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This had a little, I don't know, it just had such an impact on me. This is about how to raise a feminist. Chimamanda was asked by one of her friends who had just had a baby girl, how can I raise my daughter as a feminist? And she wrote a letter back, and she also turned that into a little tiny book, and it was fantastic. And I found myself nodding the whole time. And one of the things that I found interesting was I don't know, as a mom, you can get very much bogged down with what you should be doing and the details. I've been struggling to breastfeed exclusively. We're doing a mix of formula and breastfeeding, and I was really hard on myself about that. And I had a little epiphany of like, when I was struggling to conceive so badly, I was never thinking of like me breastfeeding and all of that. I didn't really care how the baby was going to be fed. I really wanted the chance to raise an adult, to raise a strong woman, if I had a girl. And so reading this was really important for me because it helps me get back to what is really important for me. This is important for me. It's important for me to raise a feminist, raise a strong woman. And how Nora is fed is not going to impact her life as much as how she's raised. And anyway, this really helped me out to clarify stuff in my own life so much more than it just had such a bigger impact than I thought it was going to have. And I loved this book. 5 stars. I honestly will be giving this to any new mama who is raising a girl. I really think this is the perfect like baby shower gift. Yes. So those are all of the books, the top 5 books that I read in summer. Let me know in the comments below what the best book that you read this summer was. I would love to know, and I will talk with you soon. Bye, guys.